Back in 2017, Cuphead was released on the Xbox One and PC to critical acclaim, including from myself. Its unique art style along with its challenging run-and-gun gameplay made a long-lasting impression on many gamers. Almost 2 years later, it finds its way over to the Nintendo Switch, bringing some subtle new features and touches while also taking the experience on the go. Cuphead is primarily a gameplay-driven game, but there is a minor overarching story to give a bit of context to the gameplay. You play as one of two brothers, Cuphead or Mugman. One day the two go gambling inside the Devil's Casino, earning a ton of cash on a lucky win streak. In response, the Devil offers the brothers a deal. If they win at a game of dice, they'll win everything at the casino, but if they lose, the Devil will take their souls. Foolishly, Cuphead agrees and loses, forever being in debt to the Devil. Now in order to free their souls, the brothers must go around bounty hunter style collecting the contracts of all the other people in debt to the Devil. New to this Nintendo Switch version are the now fully animated cutscenes at the beginning of the story. They're still the same scenes that were once static images in the previous iterations of Cuphead, but they at least now offer a bit more interaction. It's a subtle touch, but one that's appreciated. Overall, Cuphead is a simple story that falls in line with the borderline risque stories of children's cartoons in the 1930s. It's charming, but not overly complicated. While it initially started off as a boss rush game that later in development includes some side-scrolling levels, Cuphead is still primarily a classic boss rush game. Upon starting your adventure, you select which character you like to play as, Cuphead or Mughead. Previously, Mughead would be left to the second player, but now you get the option to choose in a solo campaign. Speaking of multiplayer, you can play the entirety of Cuphead in offline co-op mode, with support for single Joy-Con use on the Nintendo Switch. Controls are pretty straightforward, with you being able to shoot projectiles, jump, crouch, and dash/parry. The parry move is done on any pink colored attack that then rewards you with a special attack card at the bottom left of your screen. It's an easy to grasp control scheme, but that's about where all the easiness stops because Cuphead is one challenging game. As you navigate the overworld, you'll tackle either side-scrolling levels or bosses that'll have you dying over and over again. The bosses are the main star of the show, as each one brings a unique set of attacks for you to solve like a puzzle. They're cleverly designed to have multiple forms in different sequences, so even when you've died a handful of times, you can still be kept on your toes fighting the same boss for the 5th time. There's even variations on the bosses that'll turn Cuphead into a plane, for example. It completely changes the flow of a boss fight while still maintaining the simple controls. It's a large trial and error process that's quick to pick up and jump into, really feeling at home with the pick up and play nature of the Nintendo Switch. Aside from the boss rush levels, you'll come across the more traditionally designed stages that'll have you running through a side-scrolling level. These stages are more platformer focused and throw a handful of enemies at you to dodge and attack your way through. Hidden throughout each of these levels are coins that you can then use to purchase new powers. For example, coins can be exchanged for charms that buff one thing but then nerf another. There's one charm in particular that'll give you an extra heart of health while decreasing your damage in return. You can also purchase new firing types that alter the type of projectile you shoot, and you'll find that different projectiles are better accommodating for certain bosses. Despite how few of these stages there are in comparison to the bosses, they still provided a nice break from the traditional formula. And that's a great formula too, because the levels are challenging but leave you satisfied every time you finally defeat that one boss, only to run into the same thing again. Now with these games still being 2 years old though, I would have loved to see some improvements in the newer version like an online co-op mode. I understand that this is a game being aimed at local co-op play, but at least having the option would have been nice. Some Xbox-like specific features are said to be coming to the Nintendo Switch in the future, but no details have been specified yet. What is neat for the Switch release though is the inclusion of achievements. Currently there are simple in-game ones, but perhaps the Xbox Live update in the future will tie them to your Xbox account. It looked incredible back in 2017 and it continues to do so now. Adopting the art style of classic 1930s cartoons, everything from the characters, enemies, and backgrounds are hand animated with a sense of life flowing through them. Over it all is a film grain effect that solidifies the look that you're playing a cutscene in a game, only it's actually gameplay. Back in 2014, I also had the chance to talk to the brothers in charge of Studio MDHR at E3. They explained to me how things that looked like they were in 3D in the background, like the towers in one stage, were hand sculpted in styrofoam and then scanned in to be animated like a stop motion picture. That attention to detail and the amount of effort definitely shows in the game's presentation. I particularly really like that even though this game runs at 60 frames per second, things like the background elements run at 24 frames per second to give it a more cartoon feel. It also helps to differentiate your character from other objects in the stage. Now while playing portably on the Nintendo Switch, things scale down pretty well to the smaller display. I had no problems being able to see the gameplay while commuting or even doing a co-op session in tabletop mode. Cuphead's visuals are perfectly matched with the music that you'd find in a classic 1930s cartoon. Trumpets are loud and upfront with this filter over them to give them the right amount of vintage feel over the beautifully animated visuals. The mix of different types of ragtime jazz is funneled into every nook and cranny of Cuphead. When it comes to sound design, the attention to detail here is incredible. Even in moments where the music is low, you can hear the flickering roll of film being projected, as if this was a cartoon being projected in the 1930s. Even in the moments where the music is low, you can hear the flickering of a roll of film being projected, as if this was a cartoon actually being projected. That's not even mentioning the incredible introduction by the Barbershop Quartet at the start of the game. Cuphead is a beautifully presented 2D shooter with some of the most stunning combinations of music and visuals in a modern video game. Those beautiful aesthetics are accompanied with challenging gameplay that, while tough, is rewarding to overcome now both at home and on the go. Some players might be turned off by that difficulty, but I found the challenge to be endearing and addicting. Back in 2017, it helped make Cuphead an instant classic that was worth tackling either alone or with a friend, and now you can take that experience on the go.